Okay, everybody, this is Bob again, and today we are going to do the Savage Motherfucking Dragon number one. Not the number one from the miniseries, but the number one from the continuing series of Savage Dragon. This is, without a doubt, my favorite Image comic book that ever came out. I will always maintain that Eric Larson was created in a lab where the scientist was trying to create the best comic book creator. Let's put it that way. Like, I feel like everything that Eric Larson has ever done was in order to put out these comics that are fast-paced action with some pretty great story and some pretty great characters. And the man was built to make comic books, and it shows. So here we go with Savage Dragon number one. We can see Savage Dragon here on the cover with his handlebar mustache, which is different than when we left him and the end of the miniseries of Savage Dragon, when I don't believe he had grown that yet. Real quick, we can see here that the editor was Janie Wong, which I believe is Eric Larson's wife. And I remember during an interview that Eric Larson had stated that he used his wife as an editor, like most of the people in Image did, because it made their books look more professional. Made it look like it was a serious, real book because they had editors on there. I know how he feels because I might be doing that same thing with my wife when I finish my book, Ghost Girl, that I'm currently creating. Because the credits, if I do a credit page, it's literally just going to have me. I'm the one that did everything. I wrote it, I inked it, I penciled it, I lettered it. I would have done everything. So I'll just probably put my wife on there as an editor, even though that is not what happened. But anyway, let's move on. So here we go. We are introduced to this with a splash page. We have some hairy monster here who apparently has killed many people and is just drooling blood all over the place. And we have Savage Dragon coming in with two Uzis. Okay, Savage Dragon says that he's called a shrew, and that apparently he's been ripping people to shreds for no good reason. So Savage Dragon is here to take care of it. The shrew wastes no time. He jumps right for Savage Dragon. Savage Dragon shoots at him. I guess he misses, but the shrew rips Dragon's chest open, kind of showing you how deadly the shrew is, that he can do that kind of damage to the Savage Dragon. They go back and forth for a bit here. Savage Dragon being cut up. He gets cut across the eyes, falls to the ground, kind of blind, curses himself for being that stupid to allow something like that to happen. And now he is back at the precinct, covered in bandages from all the cuts that were left by the shrew. Okay, we have Frank Darling, the guy who found Savage Dragon in a burning field and helped him to become a police officer, telling Dragon that he looks awful. And that if he keeps going at this rate, he's going to give himself a heart attack. And Savage Dragon's like, tell that to the widows of the victims that this shrew is left behind. And I'm the only cop that on this force that has the power to take these freaks down and stuff. And Frank Darling is like, yeah, I know. I'm working on a way to get more superpowered beings on the police force here. And Savage Dragon doesn't believe him because he says that for a while now, Lieutenant Frank Darling has been acting strange, and it almost seems like he's kind of working against the Savage Dragon. I think that's maybe a story beat we're going to see later on when we continue reading. And then we cut to the origin of Savage Dragon, and Savage Dragon is like remembering that. And can I just say, I read the miniseries. I'm pretty sure Eric Larson thought to himself, like, people may have just been introduced to Savage Dragon in this issue. So I'm going to explain everything that happened. And I have to be honest, that actually happens quite a bit. And I love it. He lets everyone know what is going on, catch you up with the story, give you the origin of the Savage Dragon. You know everything. You come into it, you're starting to learn all the major players in the story. That's perfect, because I have said before in other comics where I've picked them up, I've read it, the story lasts 30 seconds, there were 10 words in the whole comic, you don't know anybody's name, you don't know what's happening, the whole thing was worthless, and you spent $5, $6, $7, $8, $10 on it for no reason. I love that Eric Larson was out there. This is a wall of text, and it doesn't even matter because it's important text, and it's telling me everything I need to know. As we know, Savage Dragon was found in a burning field with amnesia, doesn't know anything. Lieutenant Frank Darling saw him and stepped in because he was hoping that he could take this freak and turn him into a force for good instead of allowing him to go down the path of being a criminal like so many of these freaks are because of their superpowers. So he gets him a job with his cousin at a dock, and then his cousin gets threatened by a couple of freaks about a payroll or whatever. Savage Dragon beats the crap out of them, kicks him out the window. Then the dock or warehouse blows up, killing Frank's cousin. Savage Dragon survives that, but the bad guys that were there to get money from Frank's cousin know exactly what happened. They know that Frank was the one that set that up in order to get Dragon to join the police force. So now he is being blackmailed, and that is why Savage Dragon thinks that Frank Darling has been acting strange lately. So Savage Dragon leaves the precinct and he walks past Alex Wilde. Alex asks him how he's doing, but he just ignores her and keeps walking. And he heads over to a bar and he starts having some drinks when this giant dude just shows up behind him saying, "Yo, Pipsqueak," and I find that to be hilarious. Savage Dragon's like, "Hey, you know what? I'll buy you a beer before I take you in." And the guy's like, "Oh, you're funny. What are you going to do? You're going to breathe fire on me?" And he holds a lighter up in front of Dragon, who takes a swig of some very strong alcohol and breathes fire on the guy, which is hilarious now. And then, of course, a barroom brawl starts, and people start jumping from out of the crowd onto Savage Dragon, who is just knocking people through the window. And as we can see, that window leads to Moe's Tavern. So I think that is hilarious. I knew that Eric Larson usually did a lot of references to whatever was going on there. And I believe this comic came out in probably 93. And I think at that time, Simpsons were still pretty big. Now, here we have a scene where Savage Dragon pushes some guy's face into the wall. And I've seen this done several times, especially with Larson. I've seen it done with Frank Miller artwork and such. And it's always that their face is putting a hole in the wall. And I'm just thinking to myself, I don't know if that would happen. I feel like the guy's face would be flat and the wall wouldn't have a hole in it. The wall is definitely stronger than a face, And that looks like just a normal dude with Savage Dragon doing that, who is a super powered super being. I feel like you should see nothing but a red splat against that wall. He knocks out the last guy, and then we have the bar owner here who is just freaking out about her beautiful bar. What am I going to do? Look at my bar. What happened to my beautiful bar? And then Savage Dragon just sits back down to drink his beer, and he's like, "Do I tell you my problems?" Right? Because that's the mood that he's in. Now, on the previous page, I forgot to mention that, not the previous page, a couple pages ago when he ran into Alex Wilde tells the partner that she's with that Savage Dragon's girlfriend was killed. This was Amy Harris, somebody who lived in Dragon's apartment complex, and he ended up spending the night with her one night. And the next morning, there was a knock at the door, and she answered it, and somebody there shot her in the head and then blew their own head off. Okay. That, I believe, is in Image Comics number 0. So that was something that was added to the Savage Dragon archives, but is not in this comic. So this is why Savage Dragon is acting in this manner. We're seeing a man who's hurt, who's blaming himself for the death of this innocent girl that he had just met. And, he's kind of drinking his pain away. Okay. We have a news broadcast here showing that there was another sighting of Mighty Man. And as we learned from the miniseries, Mighty Man died in that miniseries, and that was about a year and a half ago, according to this news broadcast. But people are seeing him again. And then we also get this little tidbit that Peter Clapton lost most of his hair due to a fire or something that took place, burning his hair off while he was on stage performing. And of course, we know that Peter Clapton is Star, the superhero. It's Eric Larson's Spider-Man, in my opinion, in this book. Okay, we cut to just outside DeKalb, in Illinois, and we have like a farmhouse here. And when we go in, we can see two people, a man and a woman, who have. It looks like maybe the man uh, shot the woman in the head and then killed himself. We're getting the impression this is probably like, like a married couple or something. And there's a door that's cracked open, and I'm hearing, mom, dad, mom, where are you, mom? So the voice is kind of letting us know that these were the parents of whoever this is in the basement. And then we cut right from that over to Alex Wilde again, who tries to talk to Dragon. She's like, and this is still at the bar. This is the bar that was just trashed during the fight and everything. And she shows up and she's like, this place is a mess. You look awful. You look horrible. And I'm trying to find out if you're okay. I know what's happened. And Dragon hits her with kind of an insult. Like, what are you saying? You want to hop in a sack? And she's like, no, that's not what I'm fucking saying. I'm trying to be a friend here. And I'm trying to help you deal with your feelings. And I think that the best way to do that is if maybe you visited her grave. So on the next page, we can see here the Savage Dragon shows up at Amy Harris's grave where her mother, Mrs. Harris, is. And Dragon goes over with some flowers and he's about to say something to Mrs. Harris when she just like kirks out on him. She's like, what are you doing here? Get out of here. You're the reason that my daughter's dead. I'm never going to forget it. It was all your fault. I'm never going to forgive you. You're the one that did it. And you should suffer and burn in hell. You should be dead, not my daughter. Leave me alone. So he skulks away and he goes back to the car. And Alex is sitting there like, see, don't you feel better now? And Savage Dragon's like, next time, why not simply pound nails into my forehead? It's less painful and I wouldn't have to drive anywhere. Yeah, that's a good one. So cut to another splash page where we have a cut up Savage Dragon. Looks like in an alleyway, okay? And we have some dialogue here, some monologue, where he's talking about the crazy day he's been having and how there's some old lady calling the precinct saying that he is her long-lost grandson named Rodney Schwartzblatt. But now he is here in this alley because the criminal he was searching for has come out of hiding and is leaving another trail of bloody carnage behind him. So we turn the page and we can see that it is the Shrew. And this time Savage Dragon is ready since the Shrew had claws that can cut Dragon up. Dragon brought something to cut up the Shrew, and that was two massive chainsaws. I actually love it. That's not something, I didn't see this in comics. Here's badass Savage Dragon here with these two monster chainsaws to take out this dude that like cut him up and was like killing this guy over here, right? So they start fighting and Dragon hits him like immediately. Like you can see the gash here in his face, blood, spurting out everywhere. There's blood all over this page. The Shrew, apparently his claws are incredibly sharp because he cuts right through the blade of the chainsaw, shattering that, and gets rid of both of the chainsaws without, much effort, and goes after the dragon. But the dragon has had it. The dragon is tired. He's had a shitty day. And I think this is the time that he begins to snap, okay? And as we can see here, he just starts tearing into the Shrew, just beating the hell out of him. Blood spattering everywhere. And he just keeps going until he realizes and looks down in shock that there's nothing but like a bloody pulp on the ground in front of him, and that his hands are like dripping blood all over the place, and he stops, okay? And then he just immediately, like, there's a realization, like, I know what I did. We're going to cut back to the precinct, and Lieutenant Frank Darling shows up again, and he's like, hey, Dragon, there's been some trouble down in the underground. There's a couple of superpowered homeless down there. If you can go take care of them. And Dragon's like, I hope this is a better tip than you've been giving me, because the stuff that you've been sending me on are like wild goose chases. It's almost like you're trying to keep me out of the real fights or something, because you're starting to piss me off with this, right? So Dragon leaves and he goes to this underground where it's basically like buildings underground. There was they just built on top of them instead of demolishing those buildings that already existed. So now there are people just living in there. So we can see these two shadows appear, and Dragon is ready for action, as we can see on this splash page where he's like, Mister, you're asking for it. And he's already got his fist pulled back, and he's got a giant smile on his face because he's looking for this. And this big red dude just backhands Savage Dragon and just knocks him to the side, right? But we have this girl up here jumping off of the big red guy, and she's like, Barbaric, don't do it. He's a cop, you know? But it's too late because Barbaric has definitely already hit him. Dragon goes flying. Dragon gets up, says you're in big trouble, and they start fighting. Okay, so they throw a couple of punches around, knocking people around. We do have this girl named Ricochet who like flies towards Dragon and like hits him in the head and like bounces upwards. And it's almost like she's made of like rubber, basically. She's like a human super ball. She can bounce all over the place, and her power is like a ricochet, right? I actually thought that was pretty clever when I had seen it so long ago. But here we have Savage Dragon knocking Barbaric again through some wall or something like that. And we have Ricochet here saying he's had enough, don't kill him. And Barbaric's ready for more. And she's going, stop it. But they're going in for the fight. They want to continue this. But she just jumps in the middle of them. And she's like, we're just crashing in an abandoned building. We're not hurting anybody. Are you going to kick the crap out of us for that? And Dragon's like, oh, shit, you know what? You're right. I'm sorry. And she's like, yeah, you should be sorry. And he's like, look, for these last few months, I've been doing all of this stuff and everything. And I got to tell you, like, I guess I'm a little worn out, and I'm sorry I overreacted. And I've been under a ton of stress. And, they're like, well, we know who you are. You look different than what we've seen on TV and everything. But we're in need of steady work. We're obviously homeless. So, like, we'll do, whatever we can to help you out or anything. And, of course, Dragon, you can see the look on his face when he's like, yeah, that's a great idea. I'll see what I can do, because he's obviously going to bring these people over to Frank Darling to get the superpowered more superpowered beings on the Force. And then that is it, where we cut right over to the letters page, which I have to say, I love the puns that are usually used in the naming of the letters pages. And I have to say that at first when I read it, it was Fin Addicts, and I didn't realize it because I just called it Fin Addicts, and I didn't know it was like Fanatics. You know what I mean? And that's awesome. It took me a while to realize that, which is kind of weird. But that was the end of Savage Dragon #1, and we're off to a good start here. Like, we had like two massive action scenes. We had story building here. We've got, character building. We have things happening to Savage Dragon. We have things changing. We have people being introduced. There's a lot going on, and I got to tell you, I love it. This is one of my favorite Image books, and I am looking forward to going through. I'll do reviews on this entire series. I'll never get tired of it. So, guys, I want to thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, please hit like. If you want to see more videos like it, hit subscribe. That's all the shilling I'm going to do right now. I'll see you guys next time.